Hi, social emotional learning is at the top of everyone's list. Sharing how that happens in the art room and in the classroom can sometimes be tricky. Utilizing art is a great way to be able for students to use their voice and to also build on the social and emotional learning skills. Today I have Jenny Kay with me, our social and emotional learning expert, to talk a little bit about how we have taken some of Nasco's lesson plans, Artworks lesson plans that have been around for a very long time and have added the social and emotional learning component to it. This particular lesson plan is called Courtly Characters. And so in the lesson plan, I'm not going to take you through how to do every step because I actually have a separate video on the step making. And I'm going to show you a little bit of differentiation. This uses a little bit of a cardboard background. I'm just going to show you a couple little easier ways, but not necessarily the steps. Mostly want to talk about social and emotional learning.
Absolutely. So as we are really looking at the lesson plans that were already in Nasco's selection that offer social emotional learning content, it became pretty clear really quickly that sometimes the SEL was already there as a mainstay. So within this Courtly Characters lesson plan, in the introduction, the first sentence is, this lesson gives students the creativity to develop characters that show specific emotions. So we already know from the outset that this is about emoting. It's about that self-management, what your face looks like at certain points and if you're going to be glaring at people or not, as well as that social awareness of how you read other people's facial features. So it works kind of really well in and of itself as a social emotional learning lesson plan, especially for students who sometimes struggle with reading what those facial expressions might mean.
This lesson plan came out right around the time that Model Magic came out, and there's a ton of opportunity within Model Magic. One thing that I think is a phenomenal opportunity for teachers is to talk about colors of skin. This was me using Model Magic and praying markers. It's just the basic praying markers to create tones that maybe would look like my skin or somebody else's skin. And so it was tricky, but it was actually really fun to do because all I did was take the color that I wanted to start working with, and I dotted the Model Magic, and after I put as much color into it as I wanted to, I could just mold it. It gives a great opportunity to talk about social awareness and culture and talk a little bit about how to utilize that in the classroom.
Absolutely. So, our classrooms are more diverse now than they've ever been in the United States. And so we have an amazing amount of diversity that our youth are growing up with, and celebrating that is incredibly important. At NASCO, we have a few webinars where we've talked about culturally responsive pedagogy, where making sure that what your students walk into the classroom with is celebrated, respected, and built into your lessons, because they don't walk in as blank slates or, blank pieces of Model Magic. They're already partially molded, and bringing in those cultural aspects, that identity where they can see themselves in the work that they're doing, means that it resonates a little bit more with many of our youth.
I enjoyed, because when I was making my faces, I liked using a round one. This one is completely based off of Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction. And then I used watercolor to sort of paint the face, and I used marker on the hair. This one is a little bit of a one that I started off with flat, and then I used some pretty mad skills to create lips and eyebrows and eyes. It can be as detailed, or it also can be as simple as just coloring on it and making any sort of an emoji type. In the actual lesson plan, it gives you a whole different method. And I love differentiation, and I love giving kids creativity. There's a whole lot of opportunity in terms of celebrating different cultures. It's just a great way to reflect on, even if you do one of yourself. But I love the fact that art is always incorporating social and emotional learning into the classroom. And I believe that if you can express those 5 frameworks to the parents, to the students, to the school, it just elevates your art education and your classroom teaching to a whole new level.